Okay. Right, let's see.
So what was Varshana Mataji's question? She says, at the end of our life.
Okay, we are not talking about end of life anymore. We are talking about living and using this human body to
No, we
the
have
sun.
to. At the
That
last
sounds
moment, I
interesting.
need
End
to
of life.
know.
What was that? I wasn't here for that.
Good. I'm not repeating it on Facebook. That question, sorry. We can talk about that in private when I meet you in the temple.
Mataji, she said, at the end of our life, how
Yes, Vindhya Valley Mataji.
No, we are not discussing it. Excuse me.
Okay.
You muted her.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are not discussing it. I'm saying that, so please hear. Okay, now let's get down to business. See, we are live on Facebook, so just be mindful. I say that every day because I don't want to be in the business of editing videos. I don't have the time to do that. So please be mindful of what you speak. All right, having said that, let's get started. Which chapter are we doing?
8,
8. Which verse are we doing?
3, 3rd.
3. Okay, so let me bring up verse number 3. And this is something new that we started recently, is that we've spent the beginning of the class in going over the translation, so that every week it's repetition and it steps on our head and it sinks in. Okay, I'm just bring it here. Sorry, I heard few things. Was there a question or a comment or a squeal of delight reading? Okay, everybody is only going to read one verse, and if you have something else going on in the background, please do mute yourself. Okay, text number 1. And we will read in the alphabetical order because I've lost the order in which you joined. So, Vindhyavali Mataji, just give us the first verse, please. And she's muted. So please unmute yourself and speak.
you want me to say the sloka?
What you see on the screen, Mataji.
Translation. Okay. Can you move it up, Mataji? Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 8, text 1. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Oh.
Kiran Khosla Mataji. Kiran Goyal Mataji, and then Kiran Khosla. Please remember the order, okay?
Text 2, translation. Who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does he live in the body, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Hare Krishna.
Okay, Kiran Khosla.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called adhyātma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities.
Okay, I just wanted to emphasize this word.
Fruitive.
Yeah, it's fruitive and not fruitive. There's only one T here.
Sorry, fruitive.
Fruitive. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say fruitive. Like, oh no, there's only one T. Okay. So after Kiran Khosla Mataji, I've really lost track of who joined. So let's just go in the order in which I'm seeing them. Okay. So Varshana Mataji, please go ahead and read text number 4 for us.
Text 4 translation. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adhibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which include a God, like those of sun and moon, is called Adhideva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the Super Soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adhyātmam.
Thank you, Mataji. So, Asutapa?
Yes, Mataji. Text 4.
No,
Faith
no,
of the
no. Right.
And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone at once, attains my nature. Or of this there is no doubt.
Thank you. Aruni?
Sorry, I was on mute. Text 6. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
And then Jyoti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Therefore, Arjun, no, you should always think of me in form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. Hare Krishna ji.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, who was the first to go into reading?
Wait, I didn't read Mataji.
I wouldn't read, sorry. Okay, you can take the 8th one.
He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me.
Nice. Okay, then we'll start our cycle again. Who was the first one to read?
Vindhyavali Mataji.
Indravali Mataji.
Indyavali, come on.
I am mute. Okay. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Kiran Goyal.
One who at the time of death fixes his life pair between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Kiran.
Persons who are learned in Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Number 12, who's going to take number 12?
The yogic situation is that of detachment from the sensual engagement, closing all the doors of senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the live air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga.
Thank you. Text 13.
After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets.
Who's coming next?
Oh, it's me. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service.
Who's after Rani?
Jyoti Mataji.
After attaining me, the great soul, who are yogis in devotion, never return to the temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Hare Krishna Ji.
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again.
After Sukomal Radhe?
Vidyavali.
I'm always muting. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's
Kumar, walk me karo, please.
Okay, if you're talking, then mute yourself.
and such also is the duration of his night.
So what is the duration of Brahma's day?
Duration of Brahma's one day is 1,000 ages taken together from the duration.
What do we mean by 1,000 ages?
Isn't it a kalpa?
By human calculation, 1,000 ages.
Yeah, my question is, what is 1,000 ages?
1,000 ages.
Kalpa?
Kalpa.
No, I'm telling you, they're saying 1,000 ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's days, right? So if you were to calculate, how will you start calculating 1,000 ages? What would you add to come to 1,000 ages?
Divya Yugas.
The
Divya Yuga.
Yes, the 4 yugas. So
4 yugas.
yeah, so Kali-yuga, Satyuga, Dwapar,
And
Treta.
Treta, like that. And it's a very, very interesting way to calculate that. Let me show you the calculation here. I did that a couple of years ago, but for those of you who are new, this recap will not harm anybody. So let me share this screen here with you. I've got this spreadsheet, blank spreadsheet that I'm sharing here with you. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So how much is Kali Yuga?
Kali-yuga, yeah.
Anybody remember Kali Yuga?
Is it 420,000 or is it 4,020,000? 400.
No,
4,000. 12 lakhs.
What is it?
432,000.
4,300. 43,000 too.
No.
What?
432,000, Mataji.
I knew it was 400 and something.
Okay. Before Kali Yuga, what comes?
Dwapar.
Dwapar Yuga.
Dwapar.
Okay.
It will be less than this. Is that right, Mataji?
No. Opposite. It'll be twice of this.
Double?
Yeah.
Double.
864.
8,664. 864.
Before that, what is
8,64,000.
Treta.
Yes.
Treta Yuga.
Treta? Okay.
That is add
17 some.
Good mental math.
Well,
Okay.
12,900.
And then what is the first? What is the first one?
Satyuga.
Okay.
Satyuga.
Okay.
17.
So this one is 4 times. Right? So you would have noticed that it is 4 times. Okay. So
Mataji, how
17.
many have we passed years of Kali Yuga? How many have we passed?
a little more than 5,000.
Oh my God.
But you know, a lot of people are saying that Kali Yuga is coming to an end. How is that? When
How
it's
can that be?
That is wrong. That's
No,
it.
we have
Yeah.
to wait a long time.
Only
I don't
5,000.
know how many kilometers we have to see. The way
It's in our
things
hand
are
how
going.
much we want to spend, right? So this whole combination, this whole thing combination,
8 million something.
right? So this will be age, right? They are saying ages, right?
Oh, this is age.
Yeah, age or what Kiran Mataji was saying, Divya Yoga, right? They call it Divya Yoga. And so this will be sum of all these.
Human calculation. 1,000 ages taken together.
So that is, this is, now what he is saying, that Brahma's day. Day of Brahma is how much?
1,000 ages taken
1,000.
together from the duration of Brahma one day.
So this will be 1,000 times this one, okay?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
1,000
8
multiplied.
million something.
Right?
400.
This is the day, right? What about his night?
Same thing. Such also is the duration of his night.
Correct, right? So this will be again, this multiplied by
Oh God. This much Brahma's day and night.
Okay. So one day is how much? One, like a day, right? I'm putting it in capitals. One day is how much? It'll be add the day,
8,000.
add day and night. Correct. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
4.
Like that, right? And then how many days in a month?
30, 31, 30.
So then this will be 30. So you multiply
30 times 864. Really?
And then he lives for how long?
100 years.
100 years, right? So 1 year will be how much? How many months?
12 months.
This will be this multiplied by.
Yeah.
Okay. So like that. And then how many years does he live? 100, right? 100. His life. Life of Brahma. Life is 100 years. So we multiply 100, multiply that by years, right? His year is this long. Okay.
Mataji, can you just scroll it down from Satya Yuga? I mean, Kali Yuga. Yeah.
Let me write it down too.
No, take a picture, Mataji. It will be good.
I cannot take a picture. I don't know how to take a picture.
I'll take the picture for you and I'll post it on the WhatsApp group. How about that?
Thanks, Mataji.
Okay.
Or I can write it.
I can just post
Thank you.
So Mataji, what you have calculated is for the last yuga, the Kali Yuga, right?
No.
No.
That Kali Yuga is 44300.
So I mean for Brahma.
By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day. And such also is the duration of his night. Brahma.
Or you've taken all the ages and then multiplied by 1,000 and
Yeah, you should take all the ages, that becomes a Divya Yuga, right? And then by that verse that Vindhyavali Mataji just read, it said 1,000 yugas make one day of Brahma. And similarly, his night is also of the same duration. So we calculate.
430 to 0000 is one day, and 430 to 0000 night. And then adding together 864 0000. Oh God.
So this is how long Brahma lives, and at the end of Brahma's life, this whole universe gets demolished. Okay, I'm just giving you an idea of how long he lives. This is like trillions, you know.
Mataji, you want me to write it or you want me to post it?
She sent it already, Mataji. She sent us the picture. Yeah.
Okay.
so Mataji, after each kalpa, the whole of creation gets destroyed, and then a new kalpa begins, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is the interval between each?
But there will be a duration. It's a long duration. I don't have the calculation. I don't have the figure for that. But when Vishnu exhales, right, it will be the same amount. When Vishnu
He is
exhales,
breathing
right,
out, breathing
things are
in.
created, right? And entire when Vishnu is in the process of exhaling is when Brahma will be created and he will live. And then when he starts inhaling, then everything is demolished and everything goes back into the womb of Mahavishnu. So now I don't know whether he breathes, whether he does even breathing, right? He breathe out and breathe in, whether they are equal in size, or whether he takes a deep breath in and then breath out. I don't know that. I don't have that figure, but you get the idea. But there will be a long duration, because when we read in Srimad Bhagavatam about Narada's previous life, So in Narada's previous life, he was a son of a maidservant, right?
Maidservant.
And so that son of the maidservant actually served some people, and they gave some exalted devotees, and then he sets out to find God. He sees God, but then he also gets information from God that he will not realize him in this lifetime because he still has some anarthas to lose. And then he's a small child. He goes to the Himalayas, this and that, and then there is calamity. The pralaya happens, devastation. And then he's sucked back into the womb of Mahavishnu, and he stays there for a very long time. It says that in the Bhagavatam. It was a long time, and then in the next exhalation he comes, and then that is the Narad that we know, because then he attains God in that next life, and then he also gets the benediction that he will, go and preach everywhere the glories of the Lord. So Narad will also be here, right, for this duration when he has come, and then with Brahma, when Brahma is winding up everything, then everything will go back like that. But I just wanted to give you an idea that he's living for about like 3 trillion, 4 billion years, 3.11 trillion, 4 billion. So compared to that, our life is pretty small. And of Brahma's life, they say that 50 years have already passed. So 50 more years are remaining for this to be there. 50 more years of Brahma. So in that 50 years, there will be many cycles of these yugas that will happen like that. So just to give you an idea of how vast things are. So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll continue the reading. So Vindhyavali Mataji was reading it, right? So we'll bring up that. Whose turn is next? Who goes after Vindhyavali?
After me,
I'm reading that.
Huh?
Yeah.
Kiran? Goyal.
Yeah.
Okay. All
And
right.
the verse number is, I lost the track.
Here, I'm sharing it. 18.
Okay. 18. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And therefore, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again.
Okay. Kiran.
Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being. And with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated.
Right. So here they are talking about a different kind of devastation than what I talked about, right? This is devastation that happens all the time. Even during the Srishti, some part of the universe will be devastated, then it will be created again, devastated, created again. And this devastation, creation will keep on happening every time Brahmaji goes to sleep, right? And then he wakes up and then he has to construct something more because some of it got demolished while he was sleeping. But when Brahma dies, this whole universe with the floating planetary system, everything gets demolished. Okay. All right, who's next? After
Hare
Kiran.
Krishna. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is.
Right, so here is the good news for all of us. Thank you for sharing the good news, Mataji. Okay, Archana, who comes?
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, and which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode.
Good. Who's next?
Oh, sorry, it's me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading and everything is situated within him.
Who's next?
O best of Bhartas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back.
Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious time of day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. I think Garima joined, Mataji.
Karima, you are driving, reading, what? Are you in a
The
position?
mystic who
Mataji.
Okay. Karima is there? Can you read? Don't read while driving.
I am driving, Mataji.
Don't read. Yeah. Let's go to
the
Vindhyavali.
mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon.
Waning.
What is that? Waning moon. Of the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back. Hare Krishna.
Next 26. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from the world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he doesn't come back. But when one passes in darkness, he returns.
Hare Krishna.
A
Although
person,
the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion.
A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
nice. Thank you so much. So now we'll go to the verse of today, which is verse number 3. So you had recapped in the beginning that there were, I think Varshana Mataji had done that we had, Arjuna had asked 5 questions of Krishna, and Krishna is now going to start answering those questions. So we'll deep dive into that. śrī-bhagavān uvāca akṣaram brahma paramam svabhāvo dhyātmam ucyate bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo visargaḥ karma-saṁjñitaḥ. śrī-bhagavān uvāca akṣaram brahma paramam svabhāvo dhyātmam ucyate bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo visargaḥ karma-saṁjñitaḥ. śrī-bhagavān uvāca akṣaram brahma paramam svabhāvo adhyātmam ucyate bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo visargaḥ karma-saṁjñitaḥ. Synonyms. śrī-bhagavān uvāca. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, akṣaram, indestructible. Akṣar means to destructible and akṣaram means indestructible. Brahma, Brahman, paramam, transcendental, svabhāvaḥ, eternal nature, adhyātmam, the self. Ucyate is called bhūta-bhāva-udbhava-karaḥ, producing the material bodies of the living entities. Udbhav means to produce something. Visargaḥ, creation, karma, fruitive activities. Saṁjñitaḥ is called. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called adhyātma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities. So what will fruitive activities lead to? If you do fruitive activities, you try to do some activities focusing on the results.
Karma.
Attachment.
From this answer from this verse, the translation of this
Karma.
verse. If you are doing
Karma is fruitive activities. Right?
correct, yeah. But my question is that if you do karma or fruitive activities, what does that lead?
I was saying karma.
It makes you come back.
From this verse, tell me. What does it lead to?
Action pertains to the development of the material bodies of the living entities.
So it keeps you in bondage. it creates attachment. So therefore, you have to come back in another body.
Yes, the ultimate is that if you do fruitive activities, that will lead to you getting a material body. Because fruitive activities were aimed at some results. You wanted to enjoy some results. And to enjoy anything, you need to have this material body. To enjoy anything material. And fruitive activities are those activities for which the aim of those activities is to get some material enjoyment. So you want material enjoyment, then you will get material body to enjoy them, right? So he had asked that. He had asked that question, Kim tad brahma? What is Brahman? Right? Kim tad brahm kim adhyātmam? What is adhyātmam, the self? Right? Kim tad brahm kim adhyātmam kim karma purushottamas? He's asked, what is karma? So here he's telling you a very, very strong definition of karma or fruitive activities, that you're going to get a material body if you indulge in that. Okay? So purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. But beyond Brahman, there is Para-Brahman. Brahman refers to the living entity, and Para-Brahman refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The constitutional position of the living entity is different from the position he takes in the material world. In material consciousness, his nature is to try to be the Lord of matter, but in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various bodies in the material world. This is called karma, or varied creation by the forces of material consciousness. In Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman, but he is never called Para-Brahman. The living entity Jivatma takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark material nature and identifies himself with matter, and sometimes he identifies himself with the superior spiritual nature. Therefore, he is called the Supreme Lord's marginal energy. According to his identification with material or spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of the 8,400,000 species of life, but in spiritual nature, he has only one body. In material nature, he is manifested sometimes as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc., according to his karma. Right? Karma is that which leads to the development of a body, material body. To attain material heavenly planets and enjoy their facilities, he sometimes performs sacrifices yajna, but when his merit is exhausted, he returns to earth again in the form of a man. This process is called karma. The Chanda Yoga Upanishad describes the Vedic sacrificial process. On the sacrificial altar, 5 kinds of offerings are made into 5 kinds of fire. The 5 kinds of fire are conceived of as the heavenly planets, clouds, earth, man, and woman. And the 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, the enjoyer on the moon, rain, grains, and semen. In the process of sacrifice, the living entity makes special sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to earth in the form of rain, then takes on the form of grains, and the grains are eaten by man and transformed into semen, which impregnates a woman, and thus the living entity once again attains the human form to perform sacrifice, and so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. The Krishna conscious person, however, avoids such sacrifices. He takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepares himself to return to Godhead. Impersonalist commentators on the Bhagavad-gita unreasonably assume that Brahman takes the form of Jiva in the material world. And to substantiate this, they refer to chapter 15, verse 7 of the Bhagavad-gita. But in this verse, the Lord also speaks of the living entity as an eternal fragrant of myself. The fragment of God, the living entity, may fall down into the material world, but the Supreme Lord Achyuta never falls down. Actually, the word Achyuta means one that never falls. Therefore, this assumption that Supreme Brahman assumes the form of Jiva is not acceptable. It is important to remember that in Vedic literature, Brahman, the living entity, is distinguished from Parabrahman, the Supreme Lord. Okay, so I'm going to stop here now and take some reflections based on what you have heard, or questions that we should, or areas and sections that we should delve a little more into. Anything new that you heard here? Anything that stuck your mind?
Yes, Mataji, this one question arises in the mind, that the sacrifices which we make, that is to come back to this material realm, this planet, because we are 5 kinds of fire are conceived of as heavenly planets: clouds, earth, man, and woman. And the 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, the enjoyer on the moon, rain, grains, and semen. I actually couldn't understand this.
Okay, good observation. Yeah, good observation. I was expecting everybody to ask that question, actually. So, when there is a sacrifice, right? Sacrifice means yajna. Okay? When there's a yajna, when you see the traditional yajna that you see, right? So there is fire, okay? And something is put into the fire. So there is the fire, and then there is an offering made into the fire. Right? So give me example of some offerings that are made into the fire in a traditional yajna.
Rice, grains, ghee.
Navadhanya.
Navadhanya, right? So these are the offerings that are made to. Now let us see. So that is sacrifice as you see, right? But then we also talk about sacrifices metaphorically, as you know, as a comparison to the fire. We'll compare fire to something, and as an offering, we'll compare it to something else, right? For example, if you remember in chapter 6 of Bhagavad-gita, where we were talking about dhyana yoga, right? And we were talking about that the brahmachari offers his control, right? His mind, he's a control, and there's a mind into he offers his mind into the control because he controls the mind, right? So there could be sacrifices which are not exactly the same as the sacrifice that we see here in this world, right? So now let's go back and look at the verse more scrutinizingly and see what Prabhupada is telling us about these sacrifices. So let's see, where did I lose it? Bhagavad-gita 3.1. Okay, here we are, sharing it. Okay, so here in the purport, Prabhupada is saying, in the Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma, like that. So we go there, we'll continue to come here. That sometimes you perform sacrifices, and when the merit is exhausted, you return, right? So you know that from chapter 9 of Bhagavad-gita, Shine Purne Marte Lokam Vishanti. So when we do sacrifices to reach the heavenly planets, you get some credits, you enjoy in the heavenly planets, and then you come back to this earth, okay? So this is a fact. This is a fact that when we are doing sacrifices, and Rachana Mataji, and your question was that, do we do these sacrifices to ultimately come back to the earth, to this planet, right? So this is the process that when people want to enjoy things, material things, which is even beyond this, what you get in this material world, then they will do certain sacrifices to go to the heavenly planets. Okay? And so once they reach the heavenly planet, like moon is a heavenly planet, that's the example taken here. So they will have some credit based on how much sacrifices they have done. They'll get some credit, like a credit card. Okay, so you want to enjoy with this apsara? Okay, take out your credit card. We'll deduct some money from there, like that. You want to enjoy wine? You'd like that, right? So this way they keep on enjoying things in the heavenly planets, and they will soon exhaust their credit card, because it was not even a credit card, it was like a gift card, right? So it's a gift card. There's no credit card in heaven. There's a gift card that you can use, and the gift card gets exhausted. And when it gets exhausted, the person... Private conversations, please mute. So then now here Prabhupada is saying that the on the sacrificial altar, 5 offerings are made into 5 kinds of fire, right? So there'll be 5 kinds of fire, and into that, each one of them, different kinds of offerings will be made. Okay? So now he's saying, let's talk about the fire. So what are the fires that we can... So here's the metaphor that is coming. So he's saying, heavenly planet is also one of the fires. Clouds is another fire into which something will be offered. Earth is another thing into which something will be offered. Man is another thing, another fire, type of a fire into which something will be offered. And woman is also another fire into which something will be offered. Okay. And what are those things that are offered? So here they are saying 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, enjoyer on the moon, rain, grains, and the semen. Okay. So in the process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. When the merit of the sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to the earth in the form of rain. So now let's look at this here. Okay. So what is he saying? Let's go back. 5 kind of fires, he said, is heavenly planets. Into which what will you offer from this list of 5 kinds of sacrificial offering? First one is heavenly planets. What are you offering there?
Faith.
Faith, right? So when you have faith in some demigod or Indra, right? King of all the demigods, the king of all the heavenly planets, the best heavenly planet, like that. So whatever is your faith, you will offer your faith, right, to that heavenly planet. And as part of your faith, you will do, not sacrifices as in putting something into the fire, but other sacrifice, like you live a restrained life, right? Or you will give donations and things like that. So that is the offering that you're making. So the first thing is that you should have faith first, right? And we talked about that in chapter 7, where Krishna was saying that people still worship demigods, right? So they have faith in the demigod. So then they will go to the heavenly planet. So that's one fire. And what did you offer into that fire? We offered faith, right? So then once you offer something into the fire, there is some result that's going to get, right? Every sacrifice will have some result. So as part of when you're offering your faith itself, using that faith and going through austerities and tapasya and all that, then that all that you're offering it in the quota of heavenly planets. And what are you going to get? Well, you'll get a ticket to go there and be there. Okay? Then the second offering, the second fire they are talking about is clouds. Right? Again, a metaphor here to fire. The cloud is being equated to fire because fire consumes things. And what is being offered to the clouds is the enjoyer on the moon. Who's the enjoyer on the moon? It's the same living entity who went to the heavenly planets by offering his faith to the demigods. Okay? Was that a question?
No, Mataji, Indradev is, so we are praying to Indradev to go to heavenly planet.
Some demigod, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So then you have faith in that demigod and you will perform austerity, etc., in order to reach a heavenly planet. So your austerities, etc., are being consumed by the heavenly planet, and then you ultimately go there. Okay? Now, when you go there, you get the gift card. And when your gift card is exhausted, then you have to come down. Okay. So how does it come down? He says, when the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to earth in the form of rain. And rain comes from clouds, right? So the living entity, when it is pushed out of the heavenly planets, is offered to the cloud, right? So what is offered to the cloud? The enjoyer on the moon. The living entity is enjoying, right? The living entity is the only enjoyer, is the enjoyer, right? Living in, and here he'll be living in a heavenly body, but still it's a material body, right? So the enjoyer on the moon gets off after the credit is exhausted, gets offered to the clouds. Okay, and then when he gets offered to the cloud, what happens? He comes down.
Rain comes.
Rain comes down, right? So then this way they are saying that the earth, he comes down as rain, and the rain is offered to whom? The rain falls down on earth. So the earth becomes the fire, and the rain goes into the earth, right? And when the rain is put into the earth, what comes out of the earth? Because every sacrifice is supposed to get you something.
Grains.
When you get grains, right? Grains will grow when what rain comes, right? Now in this rain, remember, that living entity is there as a drop of that rain, because the living entity has been offered to the clouds, right? So this living entity will enter one of the grains. There'll be many grains that will grow, but this particular living entity will enter one of the grains, right? Now, so that result is a grain. So now he's saying the next oblation is grain. Where does the grain get offered? The grain get offered to the man. So now that means the man eats the chapati or samosa or whatever made from that grain. Okay. So when this grain is offered to the man, there has to be some outcome, right? That outcome is semen from this yajna that happens. Now again, semen is the outcome. Now semen has to be offered. It's a sacrificial offering. To whom does the semen get offered? It gets offered to the woman or the female, right? So that when the semen is offered to the woman, then the child is born. So this basically means that the cycle is complete. The person who first started with faith and went up to the heavenly planet, enjoyed over there, and exhausted his credits, ultimately comes back again to this world, to this material world. Okay, so this is a cycle. This is the way this material world is set up. So, Varshana Mataji, you were asking that question, right? So do we do this to come back over here? It's not that we do this to come back over here. We actually started doing all this to go to the heavenly planets, but we didn't realize, or were not smart enough to realize that the credits are going to be exhausted and we'll be back again.
Mataji, can I ask another question, Mataji?
Yes. Yes.
If this cycle, you said this much, it goes faith, and it goes to heavenly planets and clouds and earth, and then it comes to man, and then it comes to the rain, and then grains, and comes to the semen, and then comes to the it goes to women, and then comes to a baby. Okay, but what is Brahma? Brahma does then. He did the creation. Is that right?
Yes. So if you read the Srimad-Bhagavatam, there are various kinds of creation that are done. First creation, secondary creation, tertiary creation, right? So the first creation, yes, Brahma creates the first things out of his mind. First creations of people here in this universe, right? And then later on, he creates from there. He creates more like the rishis, Kashyap, Muni, and all that. He creates those, and then he creates Manu and Satrupa, right? So they do the further creations like that, right? And then when all these creations are created there, now these creations will behave in different ways depending on their past karma, right? Remember, all these happening because of they were wound up in the womb of Mahavishnu. From there, they are coming back again here. And Brahma is kind of like, just allocating them. Okay, you go here, you go here, you go here. Sometimes he allocates them himself by his Manas Putra, right? He creates from his mind. And sometimes he will include people who have been created by him to do further propagation, right? Now, once after further propagation, they are here in this material universe. Now, different people can do different things, right? So one set of people can say, oh, I want to go to the planet. So this is what happens, right? This verse is saying this is what happens. Okay. Some of them are like, no, I don't want to go there. I just want to get out of this material world. I'm going to do devotional service and I'm going to do that. Right?
So Brahma does the secondary creation, and then afterwards, the creation again, it comes with the karma.
I'll encourage you to read Srimad Bhagavatam. First canto, you will get that in the first few chapters. The creation, the creative impetus. So you'll get all that. You'll get the details of that, right? But the purpose of this verse basically is saying that, when you do fruitive actions, right? So what he's asking, he had asked that question, what is karma? Right?
Recording in progress.
When he has asked this process that what he had asked that question, what is karma? If you have multiple devices, can you mute? So this process is called karma, right? The development of bodies is called karma, right? So what happened here? A person had a desire, And he did some Vedic sacrifices by offering his faith into the fire of heavenly planets, and he gets a body. He gets a heavenly body. Then he utilizes that body to enjoy. His credits are exhausted. Then he comes down again in this form. He'll get another body, right? And based on his previous karmic reaction, then he will suffer or he'll enjoy. So this will keep on happening. So here he's explaining karmic reactions and how karma, he said, that which leads to the development of body is called karma. Because all these activities are fruitive activities. You are doing an activity with the intention of going back to the heavenly planet. And which is something which is not encouraged because it's foolish, right? You spend so much of a thing and then you go up and then you enjoy and then you come back again. Popper. Your credits are exhausted, right? Instead of that, what we need to do is that we need to go up with a higher speed, like a rocket that leaves this earth and goes out of the orbit, right? With that much of speed. And you get that speed. The living entity gets the speed only by doing devotional service. So a living entity doesn't get into the business of where am I going to go after I die. No, many times I have repeated this verse here. Narayana parasarve. What is that? Narayana parasarve. Na kutaschit bhivyati swarg apavarga narkeshu api tulyart darshana. So one who is a devotee of the Lord does not care whether he's sent to the heavenly planets or to the hellish planets. What is the only thing that he wants?
Service.
Service or devotional service to the Lord. That's all. Right? So the mood of a devotee is very, very different. The devotee doesn't even care what's going to happen to me at the time of death. He's completely controlled in Krishna. If he forgets him at the time of death and doesn't remember Krishna and remembers something else and then goes and plays else, then he takes it as a mercy of the Lord. Right? That Krishna wanted it this way, so that's complete surrender. Whatever you do to me, I will take it, Krishna. It's a very difficult thing to do. Very, very difficult thing to do, but it can be done. So many people did get liberated and leave this material world. So it can be done, and the soul has got that capability to do that, right? And then one of the things that Prabhupada emphasized here in this verse is Brahman and Parabrahman. Sometimes people use this term synonymously, Brahman to mean God, as well as Brahman to mean the soul. But Prabhupada is clarifying that Brahman is the soul, and which is a indestructible entity. It doesn't get destroyed. Similarly, there's another entity which also doesn't get destroyed, and that is God. But he's saying that there's a difference between the two. There is Brahman and there is Parabrahman, and he's saying the Vedic literature makes that distinction, and we follow the Vedic literature, right? So that makes a distinction. So we will never say that the soul and God are one and the same, that Brahman and Parabrahman are one and the same. Right here, we see in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, when Krishna talks about in the Chaturshloki Bhagavad-gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. So I'm, everything emanates from me. And then he says that those who are intelligent, they engage in my service, and they, matchitta madgata prana bodhayanta paraswaram. They talk about me. They do Krishna katha like that. Like you're sitting all here together, you are doing Krishna katha. And then he also says that I will give them the knowledge and the intelligence by which they will come to me. Krishna is saying that in the Bhagavad Gita, so we should not doubt that. He's going to give us the intelligence to come to him. We just continue with our devotional service, right? And then he also says that normally a person, when he or she takes to devotional service, Adav Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha. So in the beginning there is Shraddha, faith, then there is Sadhu Sangha, then there is Bhajana Kriya, you take initiation and you go there, you get a spiritual master. What if somebody doesn't get a spiritual master, is not there, or foolish enough not to get spiritual master, but still does some devotional service? So he says, Desham eva anukam partham, aham agyan jamtama. So he says, for those, as a special mercy to those people, he says that I grant them the intelligence, and I will, remove the ignorance from within the heart. Jnana deepena bhashvata. So I will say that. So when Krishna tells all that to Arjuna in the subsequent verses bursts out and says, Parabrahma. He immediately calls him Parabrahma, because he knows that, of course, Krishna has already told him about the soul in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. Right? Now in chapter 10, Arjuna is saying Parabrahma because you are Parabrahman. Okay? So we need to understand these nuances, and but not to such a degree that we just go crazy trying to analyze every bit and spending all our lives in analyzing Brahman, different types of Brahmans. Then I want to read the commentary of everybody, all the acharyas that are there, right? So we stick to Srila Prabhupada because life is short in Kali Yuga. We don't have time to go and read all the scriptures. Otherwise, commentaries on Bhagavad-gita, can become like volumes like Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada gave us this book. He wrote these purports. It's not that Prabhupada couldn't have elaborated on those more. He could have definitely made a book that was this thick, but he knows about us. He knows that we won't have the time in Kali Yuga. And he knows that the main aim of this main dharma of Kali Yuga is to chant. So once you get that, then we should focus on chanting more and focus more on chanting and good quality chanting. That should be.
There's a song in Tamil, Mataji. What tapas she did, Yasoda, Parabrahman says Amma, he calls Amma. What tapas she did to make Parabrahman calls her Amma, Ma. So that song was very beautiful song, Mataji, in Tamil.
Nice, yeah. So, those are sacrifice for us. The chanting is the sacrifice.
Yes.
Fire of sacrifice is chanting in which you offer your mind. Won't let your mind go here and there. Focus is put it into the chanting. So that's a metaphor of how.
That's true.
Is it difficult? Yes, it is difficult.
It's difficult. Mind is monkey, it goes here and there. But I just see a Krishna's picture in front of me. His lotus feet and the way he's sitting and holding the flute. But I try to chant, looking at that. Still my mind goes somewhere else. And I had to bring it back.
Yes, it does.
That is really something, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji, I need to leave. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Sadhbhava. I was waving to you only. I read your message. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining. Anything else?
Thank you very much,
Comment,
Mataji.
another question?
It's a beautiful this chapter.
Yeah, it's got beautiful verses.
Beautiful verse. Every chapter is like that, We read and we think and go further and discussion.
Right.
That's why we need
this chapter. Yeah, towards the end of this chapter, you see how Krishna is explaining. And so whenever we are in doubt, we should lean to Bhagavad-gita and you will find your answers there.
Yeah.
For example, he clearly says, he tells that, there are two ways in which you go. You can leave your body. One is when, there's the fiery side and it is Uttarayan, sun is in the Uttarayan and the moon is,
Dakshinayana,
this paksh and that paksh like that. And then you'll never come back. And the other one is that you die somehow like this but then he says in the verse after that a devotee does not think about that. Why do we care what time we left the body, whether it was night or day, whether it was full moon or a half moon or new moon? It doesn't matter. All the devotee says is the next life I should continue my devotional service. That is the aim. So we don't bother.
But Mataji, in the Mahabharata, Bhishma, he waited for his death. He waited for Uttarayana.
He got the boon. He waited, not all of us.
But he's supreme and if he's a devotee, why did he have to wait? I mean, he wouldn't.
Yes. The question would also be that why did the gopis pray to Katyayani? Right? They are higher than Katyayani. So what happens, Mataji, is that those are the prevalent customs of that particular time. Right? That one person goes in there, that he was just following the customs. He was not doing anything. He's a devotee of the Lord, right? And we rest. So Mahabharata, we have to read it with that. That's why I always say, read the Bhagavatam. The Jivals, Amal Puran. They'll be very clear about what one is to do and what is not to do in devotional service.
Thank you, Mataji.
Beautiful.
Sorry, was there a question there?
No, I said I have to leave as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Paramatma, Atma, Paramatma, Brahman, Parabrahman.
Yes, correct. Correct, right?
If we
And
remember
in Sanskrit language, yeah, in Sanskrit language, there are the same word is used like Atma. Atma is used to sometimes used to for your Atma, sometimes for God, sometimes for the mind, sometimes even for the body. So that's the nuances of language. So we just follow the acharyas, what they are saying for a particular words. Varshana Mataji, you're raising your hand.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, human body, like you see, I am in this body, and I came to know very late about Bhagavad-gita and met Guru Maharaj, Acharyas, Shiksha Gurus, all the devotees, Vaishnavas, and some maybe 0.0001% improvement may have taken place. That too may have. So, Mataji, I have done so many karmas in my previous births also, which I am unknown to. So, if I have done certain karmas which are, I mean, they were abominable, suppose, and now what is the state? What will happen even after coming to Krishna consciousness?
Bhagavad-gita 4.17. It says the intricacies of Bhagavad-gita 4.17. The intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. Right?
Very difficult to understand.
Difficult to understand. And now the thing is that you might know some abominable things you did in this life. You don't remember what you have done in your previous life. I'm not saying that you did abominable things. I'm just saying you don't remember.
Yes.
Right? So there is no point, spending our mental energy in thinking what's going to happen. And that is where faith comes in. Faith comes in that Krishna will take care. Rakshasiti iti vishvaso. That is surrender to Krishna, that I have faith, Krishna will take care. I mean, suppose your child does a lot of abominable things, and then throughout the life, and then when they turn 40, they become good. Are you going to come after them for what they did when they were 20?
No, you will forget.
So we are made in the model of Krishna. Krishna will also do. And this verse I have repeated so many times from Brahma Samhita, karmani nirdhati kintucha bhakti bhajam. That your karmic reactions get burnt. Burnt means gone, right? For example, if there's a sheet in which all the bad things that you did are written, and you take a pair of scissors and you cut it and throw it into the trash and saying, okay, now nobody in this world is going to know what I did, right? But somebody can go into the trash can and they can put all the pieces together and construct the paper out of it. And they can read whatever you wrote, right? But when you burn something, it's gone. It's gone to ashes.
Nobody can see.
Nobody can read it. I mean, of course, there are mystics who can create things back from the ashes, but that's not the general norm. Okay? So you cannot do anything about the past. You cannot do because it's done. You cannot do anything about the future because you don't know what's in the future. So why worry about either the past or about the future? You focus on the present.
Present. That's why it says present.
Right? So don't focus on what's going to happen to me at the time of my death. Can I somehow or the other, make sure that the death is in my hands, like Bhishma Pitama, right? It's not that every devotee who has gone back to Godhead had ichha mrityu, that they had the choice that they will leave the world whenever they have to leave, right? But the thing is that whenever we leave at that time, our aim is, our desire is to think about Krishna. But if it doesn't happen, if you're sick or whatever, just remember, Krishna will take care. People who have been in coma suddenly woke up and say, oh, Prabhupada, and then they die. Prabhupada comes to take care, right? So focus on the positive. Don't go after the negative. It's going to leave you very depressed. There's positive things. Focus on the positive, you'll get positive energy. Focus on the negative, then at the time of death, one will think of the negative because that's what we did the whole life. To the whole life we were positive and we were thinking, read the story of Dhruv Maharaj. Look at the picture of Dhruv Maharaj leaving this earthly planet. Right? There's a nice aeroplane that comes and there's Vishnu Pitas are there and this nice planet and he goes there. And then he turns around and he sees there's another aeroplane and his mother is coming in that other planet, right? So focus on those things. The devotional service is going to give you that, right? And don't sweat on the small things because they are not in your control. We don't know when death is going to come. We don't know what state you're going to be when you die, right? Any other questions? This nice
Thank you so much for giving me so much of encouragement.
Yes, don't be discouraged. You have dedicated your life, right? Just continue your focus, okay? And focus, don't let your focus go this way, that way, this way, that way. Focus on something, right? And chant.
And the Wi-Fi is giving a lot of trouble, Mataji. Sometimes I'm coming to the phone, sometimes
mind is giving trouble?
No, my Wi-Fi is giving trouble today.
Wi-Fi is giving trouble. Yeah, this world is full of trouble. And trouble creators. Like that. Yeah. Shall we? 7:30.
Okay.
All right then. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyev cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Bolo Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Nice. Okay, Hari Bol. Sunday morning, 30.